This is a Super Saiyan God. I never knew this level of power existed.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. We have the Saiyan Day Dokkanfest Super Saiyan God Goku showcase. He's at 55%. Unfortunately didn't manage to pull any dupes or the side banner Jeets, but at least we did get him. We do have his 200% lead, which I do quite like. You know, even a flat key +3, HP and attack and defense +170 to pure and hybrid Saiyans is still a decent 170 lead, and a lot of the better units in the game can utilize that if you are running his 200% lead of pure or hybrid Saiyans and Power of Wishes or Exploding Rage. For the 200% lead, some of the better units in the game can still utilize the 170 lead. We are running his 200% lead and his 170 leads as well, just to run it, because why not? But this is another unit who bolster the LR Super Saiyan God's 200% lead, even their 170 lead of movie heroes, Power Beyond the Super Saiyan, and Kamehameha. So most time I'll probably run in there just because it's a bit better of a category. His 200% lead isn't too bad, but of course the God one's just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, we do have him actually ideally set up with the Year 7 Gods. We have those all-important attack links of Warrior Gods and Godly Power. We did trigger his entrance animation because we do have 6 or more superclass allies on the team, which is going to be so easy to do. On the categories you run him on, you know, when you look at your Saiyans, you know, movie heroes, Realm of Gods, Goku's family, Power Beyond a Super Saiyan Kamehameha, etc. All of those categories, Bond of Parent and Child, all of those categories contain some of the best super units in the game. There's no reason to kind of cross over and bring an extreme unit in there. And even then, the only unit that could possibly go on some of them is Broly. So triggering that so easy. So we do have that 6-turn orb change, changing Key Spheres to Fizz Key Spheres, and the extra attack +100% when performing a super attack, which is very nice. But turn 1, we're starting with 228k attacks, that 136k defense with the gods. Of course, to be fair, this is actually a rotation you could run. Considering he does have 6 turns of orb changing, it's going to make it a lot more likely to get 6 Key Spheres. So you do get all the extra benefits, mainly being that guard. We didn't get 6 Key Spheres there, but we're only in the Vegeta event, it doesn't really matter. And we're starting with a 5.49 million attack stat with Warrior Gods and Godly Power, that's the one, activated as well. Probably would have been just under 5 mil without it, which isn't too bad when you consider this Goku stacks. Of course, he does raise his attack and defense by 30% and stacks on super, which is very nice. And he does cause immense damage to the enemy. The start of turn, he is also getting Key +2 and attack and defense +150%, and then gets an additional attack and defense +50% when attacking. He does have a 30% chance of evading, and he does then get an additional attack and defense +50% and a chance of evading enemies' attack +30% with 3 or more Key Spheres obtained. And considering he changes Key Spheres to Fizz Key Spheres for 6 turns, getting 3 Key Spheres will take no effort whatsoever. So going to be very easy to get 3 Key Spheres at all times. Even when his orb changing runs out past turn 6, getting 3 Key Spheres is so incredibly easy. So at all times he's going to be getting his base 30% chance to dodge and the additional 30% chance to dodge, which is great. Orb changing or no orb changing, going to be very easy to get that. And we've seen it with EZA transforming Gogeta Blue. Yes, naturally it's RNG related, it's not always going to pop for you, but most of the time we've seen Gogeta Blue with a 70% chance to dodge the majority of attacks that ever come his way. So getting that extra 30% going to be huge, where you can utilize it in harder content like Red Zone. Majority of Red Zone bosses, apart from like Broly and like final phase of Omega, God Goku's going to be able to dodge them. So that is great. So off of literally 1 stack, we're now up to 273k attack stat, 163k defense. Once again, unfortunately, we can't actually get him 6 Key Spheres, even though he is orb changing. But again, realistically, it doesn't matter here. But this is also one of the situations that can arise if you are on like an actual run in Red Zone. Even though he is orb changing, we're up to 5.69. But even though he is orb changing for 6 turns, realistically, some of the time, if RNG isn't, you know, in your favor, if Dokkan isn't feeling generous, even with his orb changing, you may just be, as we were there, a key orb short, a Key Sphere short, maybe even 2 Key Spheres short of getting that 6 Key, those 6 Key Spheres to get in that guaranteed guard. But overall, his versatility is so good, because not only does he have pretty good damage output, especially again, like the later you get into an event, especially against Broly, who's a bit more on the longer side of Red Zone stages, you can get his attack stat to pretty decent lengths. And then naturally, if you are getting 6 key spheres, he does have that guaranteed additional, which is going to help him stack up quicker. And if you are getting, you know, the 6 key spheres pop during those 6 turns while you're getting the orb changing, but if you are getting the 6 key spheres pop more than often than not, that is a guaranteed additional. He's stacking quicker, but also he's going to be doing a lot more damage because of that guaranteed additional as well. And if you have dupes, you can also hit some crits along the way, doing some pretty good damage while he's constantly getting stronger and stronger. But more importantly for Red Zone, he's going to be stacking his defense as well. And on top of that, if you are getting the 6 key spheres, which of course the orb changing will help, you get the 3 key spheres, you get the extra attack and defense plus 50%, you get the extra 30% chance to dodge, which means you then have a 60% chance to dodge. And if you're getting the full-blown 6 on top of that, you're also having the guaranteed guard and the guaranteed additional super, which means if you're hitting that more often than not, you're stacking his defense up even quicker and quicker and quicker, where you can hopefully get it to that kind of like solid point of 500-600k, where he's going to be tanking all of Red Zone boss's basics for double digits. Of course, if you have dupes, you can do that a lot quicker, which is why I really wish I had a dupe in him, but more importantly, I could have crits, which means I could be doing huge damage along the way as well. But then there's also the potential to super attack 3 times in 1 turn. While he's stacking his attack and defense the entire time, not only can he do that, he'll then have guard with the full 6 key spheres ideally, along with a 60% chance to dodge, which defensively is probably 2 of the strongest mechanics in the game. And again, along with the fact that he is also stacking the entire time on top of that. Being able to dodge, especially where you can utilize it, and guarding while constantly building up your attack and defense the entire time as well. Defensively, this God Goku, or at least in his God Goku form, the utility, the amount of versatility and how good he is defensively is insane, even at 55%. There's the double sack, 6.1, because we did get the 6 key spheres. But guard and a 60% chance to dodge while stacking is sick, is dope. Again, at 55%, that's even more crucial. But at 55%, he's performing incredibly well. And I can't wait to try him in Red Zone to see how he really performs. But defensively in God, he's very good. In God overall, he's more of a better, versatile, overall well-rounded unit. Whereas the transformation to SSJ is more attack focused. To me, it's like a kill shot. You want to bring that out when you're ready to finish the event off. But God Goku, good damage output. I said he's always stacking as long as you're getting the key spheres, the full 6. Guaranteed additional, stacks up even quicker. Extra damage, you got dupes, there's crits along the way as well. But then he's got a 60% chance to dodge in total with the 3 or more key spheres, and then the 6 guaranteed guard. It is such a great versatile kit, especially defensively. And it works so well. Even at 55%, he's performing great right now. He's performing so good right now. I keep saying performing. It's performing. Even at 55%, I'm incredibly impressed. I would love to see how he works with dupes. Unfortunately, we didn't get any, but at 55%, he's already impressing me. And then not only that, as I said, he gets that guaranteed additional, guaranteed guard with 6 or more keys as obtained. He then gets an additional attack plus 50%, starting from the turn in which the character performs the 4th super attack in battle, which again, during those 6 turns while he's orb changing, as long as you're getting 6 or more key spheres, it will literally take you 2 turns. If you get back-to-back turns of God Goku appearing and getting 6 key spheres, you'll literally super attack twice in each turn and super attack 4 times that quickly. So after the 4th turn, naturally his attack stat will lower on the 5th turn after you've done the 4th super attack, and then you just go again. But as I said, as long as you're getting 6 key spheres, you can literally do that in 2 turns. Or even if there's one turn where you don't get that, and there's one turn where you do get the 6 key spheres and the guaranteed additional, look, we're past the 4th attack now, which is why we're down to like 5 mil. But again, we're stacking, so it doesn't really matter. But again, say there's one turn where you do get 6 key spheres guaranteed additional, that's already 2 super attacks, which means even if you don't get it the following turn or one of the turns, you can then super attack for the 3rd time. If you don't get 6 key spheres, no additional. Following turn after that, he comes back, you super attack, bang, you got it again. You got that additional attack plus 50%. So getting that is incredibly easy, of course. But the orb changing for 6 turns definitely helps you get 6 or more key spheres, so you can get that ASAP. But the reason why I didn't transform him just yet is so I can trigger that and we can then transform him. And also, I kind of just want to stack him as long as possible before we transform him into Super Saiyan. Because, of course, once we transform into Super Saiyan, not only are we going to hit that big you know, active skill additional where he's got the guaranteed crit, which means he can do huge damage to enemy health bars, by the way, because of course the entire time he's going to be stacking. So the longer you keep him in God and the longer you keep him stacking, the more damage eventually that active skill is going to do on top of the guaranteed crit, which is exactly what we're looking for, exactly what we want. Of course, realistically in red zone, with it naturally being shorter content, you're not always going to be able to utilize that naturally just because it is shorter and you kind of want to get in and get out as fast as possible. But then also, that's also fine. Yes, you miss out on a sick animation and a huge, you know, amount of damage from the active skill. But then you keep Goku in God, which means, again, he's still stacking. He still has the potential to get guard with 6 orbs. He also can still, you know, dodge. He then has the 30% chance to dodge with 3 or more key spheres. So it's not the be-all and end-all if you don't trigger his active skill. Like I said, the longer you're going to keep him stacking for, the longer you keep him in God, the more damage that active skill is going to do, and the better he will perform once you then trigger the active skill and he remains in SSJ. So that's why I'm waiting to trigger it. We're up to 753k attack stat now. We've just shy of 300k defense. As I said, I'm going to keep him going. Just because we can here, I'm going to keep him going. But obviously, realistically in red zone, as I said, for some of the shorter ones, like maybe a Mega, Cooler Core especially, because of how short he can be, like you just want to beat Cooler Core and immediately get out because of how much damage he does. But considering how much dodge chance this Goku can have and potential of guard, he might actually be alright there, but you don't really have that much time to stack. So, you know, naturally against Cooler Core, because you don't have that much time to stack, apart from, you know, the first phase where you're locked in with Cooler Army for Cooler Core, because of how hard he hits, you might not even actually use the active skill unless you're actually going for the win. Because if you transform him, you lose all that potential dodge chance. Yes, he has a 70% chance to dodge once he transforms, but before he attacks, which do you really want to take that risk? Entirely up to you. But of course, in some scenarios, you might not even want to transform him, as I said, like Cooler Core, so you can keep and utilize all that chance to dodge, the potential of him getting 6 key spheres and being able to guard. You might want to keep all that and keep him stacking to make sure that, you know, you have more chance of beating him and, you know, completing the run. Whereas he has more chance of dying in Super Saiyan. So, you know, that could also happen. And again, there's going to be some points where you're going to have to use the active skill a lot earlier because the event's going to finish quicker. Because again, red zone is naturally on the shorter side of harder content. You go for the kill shot. You know, Goku's barely stacked that much by the time you transform into SSJ, but you mainly want to utilize the active skill. So that's where the versatility comes in depending on the situation. But of course, ideally, you'd want him stacking as long as possible in God. You then use the active skill, get the big damage and guaranteed crit on the active itself with the ultimate damage. And then, of course, when he's in Super Saiyan, he'll have an extra bit of stats because he's been stacking for so long. So next time, we are going to transform him. I'm not sure where we've got him up to stats-wise. But I will transform him now. 821k attack stat, 326k defense. It's not bad. It's not too bad. Defensively, having 300k defense going into Super Saiyan isn't too bad. I would personally want a little bit more, you know, because he does get a 30% attack and defense raise on Super in SSJ. But even so, as I've mentioned before, I think I mentioned it on stream, once you get him into SSJ, you're going for the kill shot. You don't want him in SSJ for too long. You just want to utilize the damage as much as possible. But let's pop the animation. This, to me, has to be one of the best animations currently in Dokkan, especially with how cold this moment is for Battle of Gods. But yeah, let's pop the active and enjoy. Honestly, man, it's so good. I didn't mean to do that. It's so good. But of course, to trigger that, it can be activated starting from the 5th turn from the start about if the character performs 4 more super attacks, which again, if you are getting 6 or more key spheres, you're guaranteed an additional anyway. So getting that, very easy to do. I know the 5th turn seems a little bit on the longer side. Naturally, it is. You know, you'd prefer like turn 4, but considering you want to utilize God Goku's orb changing for the full 6 turns, it kind of doesn't matter, so it'll end up working out anyway. So I don't really see that as a problem starting from the 5th turn, because I want to utilize as much of that orb changing to stack him, and the fact he'll have guard with 6 key spheres for as long as possible. Of course, he causes ultimate damage, has that guaranteed crit. As I said, the longer you stack him for, the more damage he's going to do on that. And this is where he is now. 510k attack stat, 338k defense. I do think at 55% he is performing well. However, at 55%, when you do use the active and you're actually using the Super Saiyan form, he obviously isn't as good in God. If you had dupes, of course, the Super Saiyan form would be a lot better. Naturally with more stats, but also because you have dupes, you also have crits in there as well. We're on a 4.6 million attack stat. I know that's not that impressive considering what we're used to. But again, the longer you stack him, the higher that's going to be. Same with his defense. But not only that as well, he has guaranteed crit 3 turns, which means that's almost a 5 million attack stat with crit, which kind of evens out. It does mean he's doing some big damage. And of course, he does get that 30% attack and defense raise on Super as well. But dupes are going to play a heavier part in his Super Saiyan form than the God form, just because while you're in God, yes, you're going to focus on crit a lot more, maybe even dodge, but naturally crit a lot more. But once you get dupes in him, because where you're putting like the leftover, dupe system stuff, if you put something additional, this guy can, as I said, potentially super attack 3 times in 1 turn in God, which means he's stacking up a whole lot quicker with the guaranteed additional, the base additional, and the dupe system additional. As I said, which means you're building up a hell of a lot quicker, which means by the time he gets into Super Saiyan, and also combined with the fact he's naturally going to have more stats with dupes, he can do a whole lot more damage, which means those crits are doing massive amounts of damage. I said the crit for 3 turns kind of balance it out, that he isn't doing like 7, 8, 10 million attacks stats like we're used to, but more so on the defensive side, because then you can get his defense up a bit quicker. We can tank double digits in red zone bosses basics, which is exactly what we want, especially after the super attack and the 30% attack and defense raise. And of course, you can have more stats, but specifically in this case, more defense going into the Super Saiyan form. So dupes will play a much heavier role in the Super Saiyan portion of his kit rather than the God form. I can understand why people do think his Super Saiyan form's a little bit shaky, but as I said, you want to use the active and transform him when you're going for the kill shot. By this point, you're done stacking, so whatever attack and defense is at that point, that's what it's going to be. So if you use it quickly, the lower it is, the less chance this Super Saiyan form of God Goku's kit is of course going to perform that well. In some scenarios, as I already said, you might not want to even transform him, so we can continue stacking and you can potentially keep utilizing the 6 orb guard, the amount of dodge chance he has. You might want to keep him that way, and some scenarios it might be better to do so, and you only use the active when you're going for the kill shot, which is exactly what I think the active in this transformation is for. Of course, once you transform him, as you're seeing now, yes, he's not doing as much damage. Again, that also does depend on how much he is stacking. But it's mainly because once you use the active, bang, wherever you've stacked finishes. We do ultimate damage on the active skill. As you saw there, can do big amounts of damage because of the guaranteed crit. Utilize that. Then he goes in Super Saiyan, has guaranteed crit for 3 turns, which means a 5, just shy or about a 5 million attack stat. Yes, it isn't the best, isn't what we're used to, but that's a 5 million attack stat with guaranteed crit for 3 turns, which balances out, which means he's doing pretty good raw damage to enemy health bars anyway. Gets the attack and defense plus 30% on Super, with a medium chance to stun, but more so the damage. And of course, once those 3 turns are up and you start from the 4th turn, attacks are effective against all types. This form is all about the damage output, not defense, whereas God Goku is about versatility. Stacks, can get guard, dodge, has more dodge chance depending on the orbs, the additionals to stack up quicker. Yes, the damage output is also pretty good, and again, he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, but there's a lot more versatility and a bit more defensive focus in the God form, whereas the SSG form doesn't have that. He does get key plus 2 in attack and defense plus 159% at the start of turn. The additional attack and defense plus 100% when attacking. He does have that 70% chance of dodge, which is great. We've seen how well it works with Easy Gogeta Blue. However, it's before he attacks. So if you really want to try your luck in red zone and put him in slot 1, if it pops, great. He can potentially dodge almost everything and, it's fine. He's good. If it doesn't pop more often than not, he's going to be taking a lot of damage on those basics because it's pre-super. And then he does have the additional attack. There's a 50% chance of becoming a super, which we do kind of want depending on how long you've been stacking him. So as I've been saying, you transform in using the active, that's going for the kill shot. You pop that when you know you're going to hit big damage on the active. You either kill on the active, or maybe you have one more turn while he's in SSJ, you utilize the 3-turn crit where you can utilize that big raw damage he's going to do to like difficult content boss health bars, and then end the event. That's what his active skill is for. Naturally, if you're not going to do that, that's where dupes are going to play a heavier role. But at 55%, he still performed exceptionally well. His God form definitely is better, but you have to use his active skill and utilize it in the best possible scenario, which is ending off the event. It's kind of like Easy A transforming Cooler against a pure or hybrid Saiyan. You transform him into that, where you want the guaranteed crits and the additional super attacks he can do to stack attack when you're facing pure or hybrid Saiyans to do that big damage. That's exactly what that's for. You don't want to use it immediately or as quick as possible, and then he has, you know, horrible defense, can't dodge unless it's before he attacks, and you take the risk in slot 1 and he gets absolutely obliterated by like an immediate super or like 1 or 2 basics. You want to use it when you're about to finish the event. But overall, his God Goku is very good. The God form is honestly amazing. And at 55%, I'm really impressed. You definitely want dupes if you're sticking around a little or a few more turns longer in Super Saiyan. That's where the extra additional would come in handy and the extra damage will come in handy. But that's when you want to do damage and go for the kill shot. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I really like him, not to mention his animations are absolutely majestic. The active skill is one of the best animations in the game. I'll see you in the next video, guys, and peace.